America seeking refuge from the fascists, and they were not allowed in, they were turned back. And many of them, unfortunately, met their demise after being turned back. So I submit to you that if this was in the collective psyche of this society has always seen itself as a Judeo-Christian society, that barrier that was put up between Jews who were coming here, migrating to this country, fleeing oppression, they would not have been turned away. In regards to democracy, in elaborating, we have heard the term, or many of us have heard the term Sharia. Sharia meaning loosely Islamic law. There is no one set Islamic law. You can't go to one book and all Muslims follow one set of laws and this is the book of Sharia. But there are basic principles of Sharia or Islamic law that all Muslims agree upon. And these aren't just with certain punishments that we believe or see from our Western context as seeing as being backwards or uncivilized, because we hear about a country such as Saudi Arabia where a person is a habitual thief and gets caught stealing numerous times, that maybe his hand gets chopped off, for example. And many people think of Sharia and they think of this notion. But Sharia, or Islamic law, is based upon basic principles which we can find today in our Bill of Rights. One of those is the protection and the freedom to practice one's faith is the first principle of the necessities within Sharia. 2 is the protection of life. 3 is the protection of posterity, meaning to be able to work in a society and cultivate a society that will help bring about progress for future generations, and particularly one's offspring. 4, the protection of one's property and wealth. And 5, the protection of what is called aql in the Arabic language, the protection of reason and the protection of freedom of thought. These are the 5 necessities within Islamic law that should be afforded to all human beings, irrespective of them being Muslim or non-Muslim. So when we look at the Bill of Rights and we see the freedom of expression and the freedom of religion and the freedom of the press, these freedoms that we hold dear to us, these are fundamental principles that are encoded within inside the necessities of Sharia. So I submit to you that in the theory of Islamic law, there is no conflict between democratic societies and Islam. Now, is this the practice of Muslim countries? For most Muslim countries, no. Out of the majority Muslim countries, there are 5 countries. Out of over 50 countries, there are 5 countries that are majority Muslim that claim to be following a legal system that's based purely upon Sharia. And if you were to look closely at these countries and how they claim to be practicing Sharia, you would see that the 5 points within Sharia, you'd be hard-pressed to find all of these exhibited in their fullness in any Muslim society today that claims to be following Sharia. And the closest of these that would be following it, this is my personal opinion, not my organization's personal opinion, but the country of Iran is probably closer to the other countries, of those 5 countries who claim to be following Islamic law. Iran is probably the closest to following pure Islamic law. Let me also say that in Islam, Muslims are not to judge, and Muslim societies are not supposed to judge non-Muslims based upon the finer points of Islamic law that govern social contracts and the personal worship of a person. For example, if we were to read the history of Spain, of Muslim Spain, where the Muslims ruled Spain for approximately 7 centuries, you would see in that rich history that the Muslim leaders allowed for judges. So Jews had judges and Christians had judges. So if there was a problem between Jews and some sort of business transaction, or if there were a marital problem, they wouldn't go to the Muslim judge and be judged according to the Quran. They would go to the Jewish judge and be judged according to Torah. If there was a Christian that had the same type of difficulties, they would not go in front of a Muslim judge or in front of a Jewish judge for this arbitration to take place or for this social problem to be settled. They would go to a Christian judge. And the Quran clearly says in the 2nd chapter, 256th verse, "Let there be no compulsion in religion, for right guidance stands clear from error." This is the verse that is quoted many times in the Quran for freedom of religion, meaning that a Muslim is not supposed to force Islam or the practice of Islam upon any human being. Philosophically, this comes from the meaning of the verse in the Arabic language. That this verse, "La ikraha fi din," in the Arabic language, the word for compulsion in Arabic comes from the root word which means hatred. So philosophically, this means that if a human being forces a human being towards another religion or to follow some type of tradition that they don't want to follow, that inevitably they will grow to hate it. So this is not pure religion or following religion, because religion is only for God, not for the acceptance of human beings. Religion is for God. And this is also stated clearly in the Quran. 2, Muslims do not believe in Jesus. As I mentioned previously, of the 5 major prophets of Islam and the books in which Muslims are bound to believe in, one of those is the Gospels that we believe was revealed to Jesus Christ. I would like to share with you the Muslim belief of Jesus, what he is to Muslims, and then what he is not to Muslims in regards to some of the differences of beliefs between Muslims and Christians related to Jesus. In the Quran, Jesus is explained or given several titles. He's called Al-Masih. Masih means Messiah. So Jesus is referred to as Messiah. Jesus is referred to as Bashir, a bringer of good news. He is referred to as Nadir. He's referred to as a warner. He is referred to as the Word, or meaning the Word of God. In the prophetic traditions, it's called Kalamullah. He is called the Word of God. He is also referred to in our traditions as the Spirit of God, Ruhullah. He is referred to as a messenger of God. He is referred to as a prophet of God. And many of the miracles, and even more miracles, that are attributed to Jesus in the Quran and in the Bible, there are some miracles attributed to Jesus in the Quran that are not in the Bible. We are told of Christ taking clay and molding it into a bird and blowing some of his breath into it and the bird coming alive. We are told about him raising the dead. We are also told a story in the Quran of the Immaculate Conception. And in this story, we are told of Mary giving birth to the Christ without the aid of a man. And upon her giving birth, she was charged by some of the children of Israel by not being a chaste woman, by being an adulteress. And during this time of this calamity, or this time of hardship, she swore a fast not to talk to any human beings for a specific amount of days. So when some people came to Mary and they inquired of Mary, we thought that you were of the righteous. Why did you do this wicked thing? And I'm paraphrasing the narrative. She covered her mouth and pointed at Jesus in the cradle. And the Christ spoke in the cradle to those people from the children of Israel.